I like it.
All right, welcome everybody. Most of y'all know me, Sean McGovern. I'm here to introduce Mr. Jeremiah Barnett, who was Keller Williams Rookie of the Year last year for our region. I had the pleasure of coaching Jeremiah on my bowl team when he first joined KW, and got to watch him. All the boxes in his mind started checking off, and he really got it at a high level quickly. So without further ado, Jeremiah Barnett, who is on pace for 60 transactions this year.
Right. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Fantastic. Listen, you guys beat the rest of the world because you're here in the class today. The only reason that I'm here this early is because that's when they schedule my class, all right? Otherwise, you probably won't see me in the office this early in the morning. So we're going to talk about mindset. Everybody say mindset.
Mindset.
Because that's important. Mindset is more important than the how-tos. How many people agree with that? But that's what we're going to talk about today. So I've been asked quite a bit about how have I gotten so many sales, my first year, 2 years. They wanted to know what's the secret. I've been asked that a lot of different times, but it's not so much what I've done in the past 12 or 18 months. It's what I did in my life up until I got into real estate. Because everybody steps in the doors as a new agent at a different place in life. Some people just got out of college. Some people have retired with the military. Some people have been teachers and instructors their whole lives. Some people have been stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home dads, and now it's their time to shine, right? So it's not so much about how specifically to do it, but what's in between those 6 inches between your ears. How many people agree with that? So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of where I'm at, for this year and kind of how I did last year. And then I'm going to rewind a little bit about my life getting into real estate, how I got into real estate, why I chose Keller Williams, because that's important, right? Because it's not just the company name on your sign, it's a brand. It's who we are, right? And we're going to talk about that, why I personally chose it. And then when I get done talking a little bit about my story and where we're at up till now, I'm going to play a little video, and then it'll be time for a little bit of Q&A. And that way you guys can ask those questions that you've been wanting to ask somebody. I may or may not have the answer you're looking for, but I'll at least give you my answer. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so last year was my first year in real estate. I did 33 transactions, closed about $6 million in volume. My commissions for the year, I think, was $162,000. Not a bad first year, right? But there's a lot that goes into where you got to that point. This year, I only have the numbers through June, but through June, I actually have closed 31 and a half units, $6.8 million in volume, and $201,000 in commission the first 6 months of the year. And last month was probably a $30,000 or $50,000 month. I'm not sure. I haven't added it up yet. So, how many leads have I bought? Everybody say zero.
Zero.
Okay. It's not about buying the lead. Where do you get your leads from? It's about being able to generate business. So now let's rewind a little bit. So I'm the oldest of 10 kids. Okay. Some of you guys might know that. Some of you don't. So there's Jeremiah, Joshua, Jonathan, Julie, Joy, Janessa, Jenny, Jessica, Jacob, and Joseph. All right. Let's give it up for my parents. Okay. Everyone say wow. Okay, exactly. I say crazy, but anyways, my dad is a Southern Baptist minister. Okay, I grew up in a household. My parents, they don't drink, they don't smoke, so you have to figure out something fun to do. And out comes all these kids, right? So I'm on the same path. But anyways, so I did what most people did. I went to school. I got good grades, so I could go to college, right, and get a good job so that I could work 40 hours a week for 40 years of my life, and then I could retire on 40% of my pay.
Right.
That I couldn't even live on the 100%, right? How many people signed up for that? Raise your hand, don't be shy, okay? I was that person. So I went to UNCW for a trimester. That means I tried, okay? So the only thing I left with from UNCW was college loans. All right, I didn't get a degree, but that's okay. All right, so I got out of school. after my trimester, and then I got into the work world, and I worked for a company called Circuit City. You may or may not have heard of them. They went out of business after I left. All right, it's a clue. Everybody say clue. Right? Success leaves clues. So when I worked at Circuit City, I ended up becoming the youngest sales manager in the company out of 600 stores. Now I thought that was a great accomplishment. All right, if you cut me out of blood, red and white, Circuit City, I'm gonna retire here. I'm gonna die here. Well, one day they walked in and they basically told us that they're restructuring things. There's no longer a seat on the bus for me, and that's how that happened. So after Circuit City, I got into a world called network marketing. How many people have heard of network marketing? So they're called lots of different things. Some people may call them pyramid schemes, which always confuse me because they say that the person at the top makes all the money, the person at the bottom doesn't make any. Well, that's not really how it worked. But that's what people said. But in network marketing, what I learned was something called personal development. And so when I got into that realm, they taught me things like the books that you read are important. The audio that you listen to is important. The people you hang out with, that's important. That's called personal development. At the age of 23, I was introduced into that world. Now, at the time, I was what they call worry wart. All right, I sold cars for Jeff Gordon Chevrolet. Every month, without fail, I was calling my dad. He was my crutch. I would call him and say, "Dad, I don't know how I'm going to pay these bills." And he's like, "Don't worry about it, son." You know, he would try to coach me and get. How many people have ever felt like that in the last 2 years? How am I going to pay these bills? How many times has worry paid your bills? It doesn't, right? Well, when I got introduced into personal development, I learned about mindset and how important that is, and being in control of your thoughts and your actions, being intentional about your thoughts, being intentional about your relationships, being intentional about the people you give your time to. So there's the law of 5. You're the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. Has anyone ever heard that before?
Mm-hmm.
So what are those people doing to you? Or what are they doing for you? Sometimes you're married to those people, right? You're in a situation where it's like crabs in a bucket. You're the one that tries to get out. You want to go out there and be successful. Not have a job, but be a real estate agent. That's a business. It really is. And as a real estate agent, most people don't understand that you can go to work your tail off and not get a paycheck, and that be something that you want to do. But it works, right? If I told you that next year, the first 6 months of the year, you can make $201,000, would you probably be doing a little better than the other crabs in your bucket? Right? Because when you try to get out of the bucket, the crabs, they pull you down. So be the person that sets that example. So as I got into network marketing, I learned that in that business, I had to prospect. How many people have to prospect in real estate? All of us do. We're always prospecting. I was really nervous about that. So one of the things that my mentor taught me to do, he would say, "Jeremiah, don't worry about going out there and asking for their business. Go out there and compliment them." And so this may sound crazy, but this is what I did. So I would go into Walmart, okay? When I go into Walmart, I went in there with one goal, and that goal was to compliment 10 people. And it really taught me how to engage in conversation. And what you'll also learn is that when you compliment people, whether they realize it or not, they automatically like you back. Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Kyle, if I keep telling you how great you are, how sharp you're dressed, how wonderful your wife is, what a great business you have, before you realize it, you're going to be the biggest Jeremiah fan out there, right? Because all I've done is I've complimented you. If I go to Sean, I say, "Sean, you're always dressed sharp. You always have a positive attitude. I love how you come in here and just open up to everybody, give us your time and your energy and your thoughts. The more I tell you how much I appreciate you, how much I like you, you're going to automatically like me back."
I'm already a big Jeremiah fan, so.
Thank you, Sean. So anyways, that really taught me something, because when you're prospecting, it's not about getting business from someone. It's just about opening up a relationship and a conversation. Because that person that you happen to talk to in Walmart may be thinking about listing their house, and just in conversation, they may ask you, and you might want to write this down when you meet someone, ask them, "What do you do for a living? What do you do?" Because what is their question when we back? Right? So They asked you. You didn't say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. You know anybody wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? When you meet somebody, just ask them what it is they do. And then follow up. Tell me more about that. What would it take for me to send you a customer if they're in a role where they could receive a customer? And take a genuine interest in what it is that they do and how you can send them a customer. Why should people send you referrals if you don't send them referrals? This is a two-way street. The people that I have developed relationships with since being in real estate, they know they need to give me a referral because I'm going to be giving them referrals, and this is a two-way street. Mr. Mortgage Broker, I've sent you 12 deals. You're not getting another one until you send me one. Guess what? They're going to go to work real fast for you. So that referral business is definitely a two-way street. So prospecting, and that's where I learned personal development, was in the network marketing industry, and it really just taught me how to think. You know, the more you read, the more you'll make. And this is from someone who read Cliff Notes in school. And I don't know that I had read a full book in high school, but when I kept going to these seminars and I'd hear these successful people telling you the more you read, the more you'll make, I'm like, fine, I'll read your stupid books, right? You know, start reading, right? But it really changes your thought process. So fast forward a little bit further, after network marketing, I ended up working for Gold's Gym, and I ended up becoming the top salesperson there, and I got a general manager role, and I worked for Gold's for 8 or 9 years. There again, you cut me, I'm going to bleed gold and black, and I'm going to die with Gold's Gym, right? Well, that's not how it worked, right? So over these years, I've experienced tough situations, and let's talk about how mindset can keep you through those tough situations. So, do you guys know what the difference is between poor and broke? There's a difference. Mindset. Poor means passing over opportunities repeatedly. Okay? Broke is just a temporary situation. Now, I've never been poor, but I've been broke. Everybody say broke.
Broke.
Let me tell you how broke I've been before. So, do you need running water in your house to use and flush the toilet? Everybody say no. Because what you can do is you can get a wheelbarrow, put it in your backyard, and when it rains, it'll fill up with water. And then you take that water, and when you gotta go, take the water, and it'll flush your toilet. That's pretty neat, right? I literally did that because my water was shut off, and I didn't have money to pay my water bill. Also, a $20 a month gym membership, I can take my showers there. So I've been in that situation. I've had my power cut off. I had my home foreclosed. I've had my car repossessed. I never thought I could fit a Tahoe in a one-car garage. But when the repo man's coming for it, you better believe it will fit in a one-car garage, right? Every night around 11 to midnight, I see those yellow lights, you know, it's going past my house. I'm like, can't get it, it's in here. And then those suckers drove 2.5 hours to my brother's house in Fayetteville and said, we're looking for Jeremiah in his Tahoe. And they call me, why is the repo man showing up at our house? I don't know. Sorry about that, guys. So I make a call to the company. I say, look, you're not picking up this Tahoe from my house, so I won't be embarrassed. But here's where it'll be, and here's where the keys will be. And I parked it down the road. They came and got it. And before I did that, I pulled all the speakers out. I pulled the third row seats out so I could sell them. You know, when you're broke, you get creative, right? So anyways, these are all real things that I did, you know.
Take the wheels off, put it on rocks.
Yeah, I mean, you ever see the house is owned by a bank? The cabinet's gone, dishwasher's gone, everything's gone. Well, that was me. You know, I didn't rip out cabinets because I'm not that handy. You know, but, if I could have, I would have, right? So anyways, being broke, you do get creative. But during all those things, I knew that I was going to be successful. I just had to keep moving forward and find the right vehicle. So as I worked for Gold's Gym, and I was the manager there, that is a tough job. Don't go into that business. I mean, it's hard enough to keep 1 or 2 people happy in your household, but keeping 700 people a day that come through your gym happy, that's a tough business. But the way I ended up getting into real estate was back in the network marketing. Usually there's an investment to get started. So I called one of my friends and I said, hey, Dante, I've got this great business opportunity. You work from home, you're a sharp guy, and I know I know you're an independent person. You want to make money for your family and not have to worry about your bills. So I want you to take a look at this business opportunity. Dante looks into it. It says, Jeremiah, I would love to get started, but I don't have the money to get started. And to get started in this business at the time was $250. That's not a lot of money. He had spent 20 years in the military. And that really got me thinking. It's like, man, Dante gave 20 years to the military, and that joker can't even afford $250. Man, that sucks. On to the next one. I didn't really think a whole lot about it until about 2 years later, I see a Facebook Live video of Dante talking about real estate investing. And he's involved in these big transactions and these big deals. And I'm like, a little light bulb went off. I was like, what the heck? This dude didn't have $250 2 years ago, but now he's investing in real estate? Like, there's got to be something to that. So that day, as I pulled into the gym, instead of listening to my music, I went to Bigger Pockets. It's a real estate, write that down, Bigger Pockets. It's a podcast on real estate investing, and it's the #1 podcast on real estate investing. So I started listening to Bigger Pockets every day, and my mind started expanding. So I started learning all this stuff about real estate and real estate investing, but I didn't have anything to apply it to. So I got the great idea, well, maybe I'll get my real estate license. So I went to the owner of Gold's Gym, and I was kind of nervous about it because I'd been there for 8 years, and I thought that if I told him I wanted to get my license, he would think I was going to quit, and then he would start looking for my replacement, and then I ended up in a funky position. And so he actually gave me his blessing. So I started taking real estate school in 2017, that summer. I got licensed in September 2017, like late 2017, signed on with KW in October. In October of 2017, I met with Debbie, who was the team leader at the time, and I'll talk about why I chose Keller Williams. But when I met with her at the time, I had every intention of being full-time at the gym and then having a real estate license kind of on the side. And how does that work?
No.
You can do it, but eh. So anyways, October was my first month with Keller Williams. 2 weeks into October, I get a phone call from the owner of Gold's Gym, and he says, Jeremiah, we're selling out to O2. So starting November 1st, O2 Fitness is going to own the gyms, and they will be the ones that you will be answering to. And I was like, whoa, this is a big deal, right? So I was like, I'll be a leader of change. I'll let my staff know it's all going to be okay. The last day I was with Gold's Gym is when O2 made me my offer, and at that time, they wanted to cut my pay by like 35%.
Wow.
Now, you may or may not know this, I'm married and I have 4 kids, ages 14, 8, 4, and 2. And, my wife stayed at home with the kids, and I was responsible for paying bills. Now, if you walked into work one day and they said, hey, we're going to cut your pay by 35%, how would you feel about that?
Not good.
That'd be a tough thing, right? And so I figured as a business person, I would go back to them, hey, I understand you don't know me. How about I sign on with you guys for 90 days, and depending on how I do, you can put me back at that pay that I was at. I thought that was pretty fair. Well, they came back to me and said, in this market, this is the best you're going to get. I was like, well, there again, I'm not a worrier, but I started worrying a little bit. Let's just be real, okay? Because that's kind of a big deal, right? So, called my wife and said, hey, we need to talk. You never want your spouse to say, hey, we need to talk, okay? That's never a good thing. Whenever she wants love, and she doesn't say, hey, we need to talk. That's not what happens, right? If I get a big raise, I don't say, hey, we need to talk. Nah, we need to talk is usually associated with a tough talk. So we had a conversation, and I went over what was going on. And I also called all the people that were important to me, the people that I respected. Every single person, with the exception of my wife, said, Jeremiah, you have a family. You need to take the job at O2 and take that guaranteed pay. You haven't sold a house. You don't know anything about real estate. You need to look out for your family. If you got to do something on the side, that's fine, but you need to take that job. But my wife, the one that I answer to, here's what she said. Jeremiah, if anybody can do it, you can. You got 6 months to figure this out. So let's give my wife a round of applause, okay? Because, not to get into relationships, but if you're married and you have a wife, one thing that a wife wants to feel is secure. That's just the way it is. And that's a big deal for your for my wife to say, if anybody can do it, you can, and give me the freedom, the reins to go make it happen, that's a big deal. Everybody else said, Jeremiah, you need to take that job though too and don't worry about real estate. So obviously, if you work 100 hours a week in real estate and you don't close the house, how many dollars do you get paid? Everybody say zero.
Zero.
So what am I to do? I started driving Uber. All right? Some of you guys may or may not know this. So 6 nights a week, I would leave around 8 p.m. until about 3 or 4 a.m. And I would drive Uber. And I lived off credit cards and a little bit of Uber money that I was making. And I also was prospecting along the way, so I was smart about it. And 3 out of my first 5 transactions were actually Uber passengers. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And so November was my first month, like really in real estate. So November, no sales. So this is month 1. December, no sales. I'm like, well, Jeremiah, I got kids. How you paying for Christmas? Everybody say credit cards.
Credit cards.
Yeah. I got a positive mindset. I'll get to them later. January, no sales. February, I had my first closing. Now, this is 4 months in. The paycheck that I took home was $2,400. So if you take $2,400 and divide it by 4, I'm averaging $600 a month in real estate. I was a rock star. I walked in this office and people were like, Jeremiah, how do you do it? I'm like, I'm just good. I don't know. So I'm still got this mindset. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. March rolls around, and this little thing called bold comes up. Everybody say bold.
Bold.
Raise your hand if you take bold. Fantastic. That's why you're here, because you understand that bold does lead to success. Now, when I signed up for bold, I had a private conversation with our team leader at our market center. And I said, hey, I really want to go bold. $800? I don't know about that. How many people have thought $800? That's a lot for a class, right? But success leaves clues. And if the people who have been successful told me I need to be there, guess what? I need to be there. So here's the thing I worked out. I said, hey, here's the deal. I really want to go to bold. I can't miss any classes. Is there any way you can like hold off from running my card? Because I definitely don't have $800, to spend on a class. I got a wife and I got kids. Can you guys hold this? Now that was in 2018 at that point. That's where I was at. I signed up for bold and I went. Okay, so at that time, March, I had 1 closing. So hey, I'm getting consistent here. I've got 1 sale in February, 1 sale in March. I'm a real estate broker now. I know what I'm doing. And at this point, I still lived off credit cards. I use credit cards for gas. I used it for food. I used it for everything, right? And so month 5, I had November, December, January, February, March. So I had 1 closing in March. So remember, if you rewind a little bit, remember what my wife said. She said, Jeremiah, if anybody can do it, you can. But you got 6 months to figure this out. So I've got 2 sales in 5 months. I got 1 month to figure it out. So I enrolled in bold. I got started in bold. And then in April, it was my 6th month. I wrote more contracts than any other independent agent in the marketplace. And that's really when my business kind of shot off at that point. All right, so if you've been to bold, you remember those letters that they have you write to yourself? I brought mine. So, I'm a guy. So as I read through this, I want you to keep in mind that this is a guy that wrote this. What? Don't get mad at me for some stuff I wrote in here. I'm just going to share it. All right, so. Okay, so now let's get into this letter. Dear Diana, I'm so excited that I took bold. Here it is 1 year later, and I have accomplished the following things in my life. Now, I was highly anticipating this letter because I was like, I don't remember what I wrote in here. Honestly, I have no clue what I wrote in here, but I know that there's a good chance that I accomplished most of them. Raise your hand if you've gotten your letter back so far. How many people accomplished most of them? So I want to read this letter to you. Keep in mind, I had closed 2 sales when I wrote this letter. My wife and I have established a partnership that includes balance and shared responsibility. Husbands, that's important. Balance and shared responsibility is important. Okay. We were able to achieve our 1-year goals of $72,000 in commissions. Oh, by the way, I finished up with $162,000. I think I met that one. Rookie of the Year for the Market Center. I got Rookie of the Year for North and South Carolina. A regular house cleaner. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have a crew of people that come over and they fold my laundry and they do stuff in the house. Because I knew that was important to my wife, that I gave her help with that. And this is the one, don't get mad at me, but this is in my letter. And new boots for my wife. It really should say, and new boots for my wife for me to play with. But it just says, and new boots for my wife. And we accomplished that. All right? Whoa! So, I told you not. This is the letter. I gotta be open. With the extra income, we were able to take several vacations without being concerned with how we would pay for it. Check. We did all those things. Uber and referrals have fed our business. I have not paid for a single lead up until this point. And new clients have showed up from all over. When you do the right things, they just show up from all over. People that know you that you don't know will call you and say, hey, I'm getting ready to sell my house and I want you to be the person. That starts to happen. With the extra money, we were able to pay off our Dick's credit card, TJ Maxx card, and Walmart card while the others are being knocked out. Now here's the cool thing about that. I chose the cards with lower balances because at that time my mindset was still kind of smaller. And I was like, well, I know there's probably a good chance I can get to paying those off. Well, the letter was written in May, and mid-June I still hadn't gotten my letter, and I was calling Paul Teller, the guy that did our bold. I was like, hey, where's my letter at? You told me that if I sent this letter, I'd get it in a year, and here it is 13 months later, and I haven't gotten my letter. I'm really anxious to see my letter. And he said, Jeremiah, I don't know. I promised it was sent out. I was like, well, I don't have it. Go ask Diana, where's my letter, right? Well, randomly, this is before I got the letter back, randomly for no good reason, I got on the phone, I called Walmart and said, hey, I want to pay off my balance. I paid it off. I didn't even realize I'd written it down. The very next day, this letter showed up.
Wow.
Bold propelled our business to amazing levels. I was also able to attend 3 Miami Dolphins games, which I was able to do. Everything on here came true. Let's give it up for Bold. All right? So a lot of that's mindset. And those are the things that will get you to that next level. And we're going to do a little Q&A about the actual ins and outs, how-tos, the things that I've done to generate business without actually paying for leads and things like that. Because it is important to be able to generate business from your sphere of influence. But so much of what we do is related to your mindset. Sometimes we walk into that office and we give a fake smile because really at home, we're just like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage. I get behind on this, and this causes stress in my marriage. And we're not doing good because money's not good, and money's not good. Everything just kind of starts to fall apart, but you're still showing up. But with the right mindset, you're going to keep showing up because the winners always show up, right? You only pay attention to the people that are winning once they're winning, but what you don't realize is that every day there's people coming in the door, and I was one of them. I didn't have no sales. I was coming to every training. I was coming to every class. I flew out to Texas to go to Mega Camp. Nobody told me I needed to be there. I just knew the leaders were going to be there, so I need to be there. I went to Bold, and those things are really what's going to, it's basically going to reinforce your success no matter what comes across your path. Because I can promise you it's more fun when there's commas in your checking account than when there's that little negative mark. And I've been in both places now. But it's okay, because where you're at in life today is not who you are today, it's who you used to be and the decision that you made in the past. So who you're going to be in the future are from the decisions you make today. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
And so when I walk in and people ask me, what's the secret? What do you do? It's not that there's a specific thing that I'm doing. It's a mindset that I had coming into it, and I continue to plug into that mindset with the books that I read, the audios I listen to, the podcast, going to the trainings like the Bold and the Mega Camp and the Family Reunion. I know that can be overwhelming if you're a new age and you might not even know what I'm talking about. You're like, Family Reunion? I've never been to a family reunion before. So it's where all the agents and stuff get together in the big city and we have great training. But those are things that you plug into when you've got the right mindset. And so when it seems tough, that's okay, because that's what's going to make it great. Because if you choose to do easy things, you're going to have a hard life. If you do what's easy, you're going to have a hard life. If you do what's hard, you have a fantastic life. And that's the decision that we all get to make. I don't have a degree. You know, this is very fancy for me to wear a sport coat and a $5 black t-shirt, you know. I don't come here all dressed all snazzy and stuff. But mindset is really what's going to take you to that next level. And how many, and I hate to keep going back to her, but she's a big part of my business. How many people have ever seen or met my wife? Everybody say married up.
Married up.
Okay. You may know what that means, you may not. Married up means you see a couple and you're like, how did he do that? Everybody say mindset.
Mindset.
Here's how I met my wife. I was at a nightclub, which is okay. I like to go out and have a good time. Sober, I'm almost 40, never had alcohol in my life, but I would sure go out there and shake a tail feather out on the dance floor. Anyways, I was sitting down. There was a bar downtown called Liquid Room. Has anybody ever been there before?
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of Marines go there for some reason, but 18 and up, I guess that's why. So I was in the Liquid Room and I was sitting on the couch next to a very pretty blonde girl that happened to be running the door. Me and her were sitting talking. She wasn't my girlfriend, she was my friend, but at one point we had dated a little bit. But anyways, in walks Valerie. She says out loud, "Is the dance floor not open yet?" And the girl I was with, who runs the front door, she's like, "No, it opens at 11. And she turns to leave, walk out. So I stand up and I said, "Hi, I'm Jeremiah." I said, "This is Ashley. She's my friend, not my single. She's my friend, not my girlfriend. I'm single. Sit down." Ashley stood up. Valerie sat down. Everybody say bold.
Bold.
Yeah, let's give it up, right? So that is actually how I ended up meeting my wife. And we have a great life and 3 kids. And most people would have let that pretty blonde girl turn around and walk right back out that front door, but not this guy. Because I had the right mindset, right? and it really it's kind of a funny thing, but it's a very true thing. Because I seized the opportunity when I saw it, instead of just sitting back and just, letting opportunities pass me by, which is poor, passing over opportunities repeatedly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little video. Has anybody ever heard of Eric Thomas before? All right, you're going to love Eric Thomas. You're going to feel great when you watch this. So we're going to watch a little video. It's about 10 minutes long. Talks a little bit about mindset, and then we're going to do some Q&A, and we'll talk about some real estate stuff. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So many people listen to great advice from great teachers. They listen to great material. They read books from the best coaches and most successful people in the world, but they get little or no results. They wonder why, after all this reading and listening, nothing happens. But some other people listen and achieve huge life-changing shifts. Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why some get results and some don't. It's what happens after they turn the audio off. It's what happens after they put the book down. After the coach goes home. After the speech has ended. It's what happens when no one is watching. That's when it counts. teachings, books, and speeches are not made to only get you pumped up for 5 minutes while you listen to them. They are designed to sharpen your mind, to create a mindset that is prepared to work, to create a habit of putting in the hard yards. You must listen to successful people to learn more. But that learning doesn't mean anything if you don't apply what you have learned.
It's what you do after you have learned that counts. After the coaching session, after the master has left, after the training session. Are you willing to put in the work behind closed doors? Are you willing to continue the pursuit of more knowledge after the course has ended? After the motivational video has ended? After your training partner has given up? Or will you be like the majority and just step back into average? Go about your average day at your average job, and then go to your average home where you will turn on your TV and watch average shows. Turn that crap off and read something. Listen to something and then apply that something.
Listen, and listen real close. Your success will be determined by what you do when no one is watching. Let me repeat that. The level of success you will achieve will be determined by the work you put in when no one is watching. By the work you put in when you're tired. By the work you put in when you don't feel like it. By the effort you put in when you feel like you don't have anything left inside.
You're tired. I don't care. You'll always be tired if you don't suck it up now. You'll be tired of being broke. Tired of living with no passion. Tired of not living your potential. Tired of being sick and sick of being sick and tired. Screw that. When no one is watching, that is when you work. That is when you push hard. That is when it really counts. I could say so many things that could change your life. On this channel, we have already. Some have completely changed their lives. But some are in the same position. Why? Because when this is over, some choose to push hard, and some choose to take it easy. Who are you? Are you the one that's prepared to suffer today for a better tomorrow? Or are you the one that takes it easy today and will suffer tomorrow because of that decision? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Remember this, when you think no one is watching, you're wrong. There's always one person watching. It's your future self. Your future self is begging you to show some guts, to show some heart, to do that little extra now, so you can live with pride later. Don't let your future self down. Well, now is the time. Now is not the time to complain. Now is the time to maintain a dream. Open up your heart to do something that you've never been before. That feeling you feel right now of inspiration, that feeling of dedication, that feeling of not going back to what you came from.
Here's the important part, because they're going to give you some information, and that's important. They're going to give you some great information, right? They're going to equip you. They're going to give you tools. I like the Glenn Next Level. He's like the Eric Thomas way. He's like, you can get my slides, right? And that's huge, right? But there's some places you go, you cannot get the slides, right? Why? Because people feel like if you get the slides, what? Anybody can answer. If you get the slides, you can be me, right? You can do what I'm doing. You're going to take something from me. No, it looks like you can have it. So here's the challenge. Everybody's going to get the same information. Everybody's going to get the same path. Everybody's going to get the same speakers. Everybody's going to get the exact same thing. Everybody's going to have access to the exact same thing. The problem is, everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Everybody gets excited. E.T., the guru story, but nobody wants to get up at 3 o'clock. Like, for real, you walk out of here pumped up, fired up, you get some new information, you're ready. Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what beasts do. And what you have to understand is, everybody that you're going to hear from, Eric Thomas, my mother got pregnant with me at 17 years old. I ate out of trash cans, lived in abandoned buildings, slept in cars, multi-million company that's changing the world. I didn't say America, the world. Why? Follow my 24 hours. I do what beasts do. You can't just say you want it. You can't watch the video and say, I want it as bad as I want to breathe. It's cute to say it. But when it's showtime, when the sun comes up, you got all the books, you got all the tapes, you got all the access. Now it's time to hunt. And what separates you from everybody else is that when it's time to hunt, you're ready to hunt. So you get all the information. What's going to separate you is when it's beast time, when it's war time, you got to get up and make it happen. I come up with a whole bunch of excuses. I had a call yesterday. It was 9 o'clock in the morning back in the States. Every week I'm on. I made the adjustment. I went to bed, I'm sorry, help me CJ because I don't want to lie. What time did we go to bed last night? 9-ish? Yep, so I had to get up at 11 for the call. And with everything you're talking about a 14-hour difference, not including a 5-hour flight to LA, then a 15, 16-hour flight to Melbourne. Listen to me very closely. I still made all my appointments. Why? Because that's what beasts do. I didn't send out an email. I'm in Australia. Just had fish and chips, I apologize. I'm tired. Listen, I made all my engagements. I made all my appointments. I found out that I left a very important folder for this last part of the dissertation, the last chapter. I left it at home. I made a phone call. Told the young lady, I'll pay you extra. Go scan it for me, send it to me. Got here, everything is there. When I get back, I got work to do. I will not go back and go to sleep. Listen to me. Everybody wants to be a beast. Everybody got lions on their profiles. Everybody talks positive about themselves. Everybody talks like you're a beast. You dress like you're a beast. You got your cars like a beast. Your image, everything about you says, I'm a beast. That's how you present yourself. When you present, I'm a beast. But then when it's time to do what beasts do, you back up. You have an excuse. And I told you before, innovation is rewarded. They give you a plaque for it. They give you a reward for it. But execution is worship. I want you to look at your salary. If you look at your salary will either say rewards or your salary will say execution. No, this is no disrespect. When we were talking about what we were going to do, we made a certain amount. When we did 90, 98, 99% of what we said we were going to do, we started getting phone calls, and I'll get in trouble with CJ, so I can't say it. Let me tell you some of the top entertainers, some of the top companies in the world are calling us on a daily basis, and we're declining, and there's one company we're thinking about working with. Why? Because the people see us like they execute now, and we want to be a part of the execution. So we start execution goes to a whole level. Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. There's no excuse. If I come back in 3 years and you're not where you want to be, I didn't say where Glenn wanted you to be. I didn't say where Eric wanted you to be. I want you to write down before you leave today where you want to be. Listen to me. There's no excuse because Glenn and the team are going to tell you every single thing you need to do. Every single thing. This is the problem. They're going to give you every single tool, every single resource. They're going to make themselves available. And what will separate those of you from the rest is not what they give you, what's going to separate you from what you do. Listen to me very closely. I want you to know you should be excited. All the information you're going to get, all the information you have, there's only one equation that's missing. There's only one thing you cannot purchase. There's only one thing you cannot buy, and that's real beef, what real beef do. That's something you don't have to do.
So that's Eric Thomas. Now, if you spent 5-6 days a week giving yourself 15 minutes, 30 minutes, listening to something like that, watching something like that, being around people like that, you think it would maybe change your mindset a little bit? So, we talked a lot about mindset, and we have about 10 to 15 minutes Q&A. I will get back into some of the stats. So through June, I closed 31.5 units, 6.8 million, 201,000 in commissions, July was really good. I don't know what it is yet. I haven't pulled it up. I haven't bought a lead. I'm not on the team. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure at one point I'll be a part of it somehow. Independent agent. So the opportunities are out there. My overhead, I don't spend very much, maybe $500 a month on real estate stuff. Now I get a little bit of a perk because my wife's a real estate photographer, so I get my listing pictures and stuff done free, so that does help. But I don't spend a whole lot of money on lead generating. A lot of it is just relational. Friendships, asking for a business, keeping in touch with my database. So feel free to ask any questions that you may have on any of that. So I thought the first one.
Well, you said you were going to tell us why Keller Williams.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So I took my class through Century 21. That's where they did their class. So I figured, well, obviously I took my class here. Century 21 is a big company. I will give them a shot and chat with them. So I met with Century 21. I met with Caldwell Banker. I met with Intercoastal. And I met with Keller Williams. 3 of the 4 had something in common. And it was the ones that I didn't choose, but they had something in common. I felt like it was in a stuffy attorney's office. They've got this great machine going. If I plug into their machine, I'll make money. That was kind of the gist of their presentation to me. When I met with the people at Keller Williams, for one, the colors are great, nice and bright. Lori, who was at the front desk at the time, she had a great smile. She's like, "Can I get you water? Can I do anything for you?" I was like, "These are my kind of people. They're just happy. People walking through the office, big smiles on their faces." And then when I met with Debbie, the team leader at the time, she didn't say, "Hey, if you do X, Y, Z, you'll get paid 1, 2, 3." It was, "Jeremiah, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. How does real estate fit into that mold? What type of sacrifices will you have to make? If you're successful, what does that mean to you and your family? What does that look like? What are your goals?" I had very big goals when I met with Debbie. It's like, "Debbie, my first year, I want to make $36,000 in real estate."
Nailed it.
I nailed it. There you go. Boom. Now keep in mind that I was planning on doing that part-time while being in the gym. But that's what my goal was. But she dug a little deeper, and she had me envision and talk about what sacrifices I would have to make. What is that going to do for my family? And when you achieve that, what does that look like? And I was like, wow, this person on the other side of the table really cares about me and I'm not just another person on the roster. Like, I'm a human being with a family that's choosing to enter into this company. And then I saw God, number one, on top of
Mission statement.
the mission statement. I was like, sold, right? So that was part of it. Another part of it was the profit share portion, to be honest, because coming from a network marketing background, it basically means someone else does work and you get paid, and I like that. That's pretty cool, right? And so basically, I didn't know a lot of people in Keller Williams. A lot of people had told me why I should choose Keller Williams. And David sitting in the back. His wife Yarrow is my sponsor. Yarrow used to work for me / with me at Gold's Gym. She was the manager of the kids' care. And she had said Keller Williams, she didn't really push it a whole lot. She was like, it's a great place, and she had lots of great things to say about it. But when I came down to signing who my sponsor was going to be, I had a hard time choosing because I did know a lot of people at Keller Williams. I knew a lot of people that I highly respected. And you guys may or may not know this. My wife and I, we lost a daughter about 5 years. October would be 5 years ago, and I had a GoFundMe set up. And Ladd and Stephanie donated money to my GoFundMe. I didn't even know who they were, but who can forget a last name like Go Gusperovich, right? I can pronounce it now. I was like, G something. I don't know what exactly that name is, but I remember that name. I was like, oh, they're involved with Keller Williams. That's a good sign, right? So that's another thing. But when I went to sign my sponsor thing, Debbie said, I know you're having a hard time choosing who your sponsor should be. Who would you like to bless? If you're gonna do well, who would you like to bless? I was like, I would like to bless Yarrow and her family. And so now, assuming they never leave Keller Williams, they'll get a paycheck, for a long time from me and my production. So that's why I choose Keller Williams, was just the feeling I got. And then when they met with me, they asked me those questions that were deeper than just business. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. You're with a good company, whether you realize it or not. You're with a fantastic company. And just the culture above all else. The commission splits are great, or whatever they call them, capping or whatever. And I tell people, if you're successful, you're gonna get paid. So I wouldn't hang your hat on how someone's split is, but that was a big part was the culture and how she asked me about my family and what that would look like, what type of sacrifices you'd have to make, and what does the success look like if you're able to get there. Any other questions?
You still doing Uber?
Occasionally. I do drive Uber occasionally. I drove Uber a lot in January and February, and I'll tell you why. Real estate it's a lot of this, right? It's really great when you're up here. When you're down here, like, oh crap, right? Right. So January and February of this year, my total real estate income was $1,800 through January and February. So guess what I was doing? My butt was in the car driving Uber, picking people up and networking and prospecting. And even though I only made $1,800 for the first 2 months, I finished up at $200 over the next 4 or so. That's okay. Yeah, I do still drive Uber occasionally, not as much. When I drove Uber originally, it was because I needed Uber and credit cards to pay my bills. And oh, by the way, I called and paid off like $50,000 credit card debt the other day. So that was a pretty good feeling.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you have a really big why.
Yeah.
And I think that can be one of the things that a lot of people struggle to tap into to get them to that whatever it takes mentality. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a gap in that why? Or was it always really clear? Like, can you help define how you achieved a why? Yeah,
so what you're saying, you've probably heard the term, you need a why that'll make you cry. Something deeper than just surface level. Oh, I want to make 6 figures. But why? What does that look like? Well, I mean, when you've got a wife and 4 kids counting on you to make it happen, I mean, there's kind of like a pre-installed why. And one thing that I've learned, and this may seem a little drastic, but it's something that was taught to me probably 15 years ago, is how to create urgency in your life and in your business. So when you're at a peak, right, and things are going great, because you can do this when things are going great or things are really tough. So when things are going great, sometimes it's easy to let off the gas and not even realize it. Bills are getting paid, deals are coming in, because then real estate's very cyclical. So the work you do today, you probably won't realize until 90 to 120 days later. So when you're experiencing success with closings now, it's from really what you did 3 to 4 months ago. But it's really easy to start coasting, right? And so a long time ago, I was taught something that's kind of crazy, but I'm going to share it with you. So who has kids? Raise your hand. And who doesn't have kids? Raise your hand. So I'm going to talk to people that don't have kids, because it's really annoying to people that don't have kids. Say, well, my kids are my why, right? If I don't have kids, well, what are supposed to motivate me, right? So raise your hand again if you don't have kids. Me, I'm going to pick on you. Other than yourself, who's the most important person in your life? And you can't say me.
Well, now I gotta think about it. I would say my boyfriend, Tom.
Tom. Do you like Tom?
Enough.
Okay, enough. Deep down, there's a little bit of love for him?
A lot of love for him.
Okay, a lot of love for Tom. Tom's a great guy, right?
Sure.
So, you just got your license, am I correct? Or you just passed your test?
Yeah.
Get your license.
Right.
So she's going to smoke it.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I've heard this girl on the phone, and she is good.
I know.
If you ever want to, strip, it's a role play, or she's an animal, she's going to crush it. They're going to be like, sure, I do, right? I really believe that. I truly do.
I appreciate you.
So let's get back into your why and Tom and everything like that. So let's say you get licensed. What month are we in now? August? So let's say I'm just going to call October 1st your first day as a licensed real estate agent. Now you do have a little bit of benefit of being in the world, so you probably have a little bit of a head start on maybe someone like myself who who didn't have any real estate experience at that point. But let's say you need to get a listing day 2 in real estate. And also, let's say you just moved to a new city, a new state.
Which I did.
Let's say you moved to Montana. You didn't move to Montana. So let's say you move to Montana, you get your real estate license, and by day 2, you have to get a listing. That's a tough task. How many people believe that would be pretty tough? Even in New York City, where there's lots of people, to say, hey, you just moved here, you know 0 people, and you have to have a listing by day 2. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get a phone call day 1 from someone. It says, we have Tom. There's a gun to his head. We're going to pull the trigger at midnight tomorrow night if you do not provide a listing agreement signed by someone that wants you to sell their house. You cannot tell the police, you cannot tell your family, you cannot tell the prospects. If by midnight tomorrow night you come back with a signed listing agreement with someone that wants you to sell your house, we're going to let Tom go free. If you do not provide that, the trigger's going off. Think about it. Crazy, right? What just happened? All excuses went out the window. All fears went out the window. Because the pain of that happened, the pain of losing Tom, was so much greater than some imbecile telling you no, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to make it happen. You're already going there. You're like, what would I do? So what would you do? For those of you that had kids, I hate to be crazy, but sometimes you got to play crazy to yourself and enforce urgency. What would you do if that were to happen to one of your loved ones? Fear goes out the window, right? And you just keep going till you get what you need. It's a very extreme scenario, and it's something that, heaven forbid, will never happen. But what it does is it tricks your brain into removing excuses for why you can't do something. You're not sitting there telling yourself, well, I don't know anybody. I don't even have a listing presentation. I don't know anything about the real estate market in Montana. All those things go out the window, and you're like, I'm going to say Tom. I'm going to come back with 5 listing agreements. And that's what's going to happen, because you've taught yourself to remove excuses and self-doubt out of the picture, because you're not going to let that happen. Like I said, it's very extreme, but it's something that was taught to me a long time ago that teaches you to kind of remove obstacles out of your way and just have clarity, right? And vision on what the job is you got to get done. Very extreme, but it's something that...
What I liked about that was you do, like, okay, I would door knock in my neighborhood, I would call everyone I know who if they know someone who lives in Montana, and then I would call them and say, you need to sell your house. And then you, and really it just comes down to you're capable of doing it, you're just not doing it.
Correct. But yeah, so how do you pinpoint on what your why is or what my why is? I mean, I love my family. I love my family enough to do what it takes to make it happen. Dude, it freaking sucked driving till 3 and 4 a.m. driving Uber 6 nights a week. It really does suck. But it's what I had to do as a part of my puzzle pieces to be successful. Yes?
So as a single agent, when you were doing all that, you've got a lot going on. What do you leverage out, like by not being on a team? Like how do you keep up with everything?
I am the worst example of what you should do.
Okay. I might be too, that's why I'm curious.
So, I don't have, is this being recorded? This is being recorded, right? Okay. I don't have a transaction coordinator. I don't have an assistant. The only thing I outsource is my photography to my wife, because it's free and she does a great job at it. I am not leveraged at this point. That's the honest answer. What's the answer you should do? You should stay in your 20%. You should lead generate and meet with clients. That's what you need to do. Work on your sphere of influence. That's where you need to spend your time.
So if you were leveraging one thing, what would it be? Like if you were going to leverage out one thing, what do you think would be?
Transaction coordination.
Okay.
Now to get to that point, you have to have contracts.
Right.
So I will say this, I did have a transaction coordinator for my first 3 deals, and then she went on vacation, and then when she's going on vacation, I wrote 3 contracts that weekend. I was like, oh crap, I gotta figure this real estate thing out. Okay. It'll burn you. Don't do that. Don't do what I'm doing as far as that goes. You should leverage yourself. You should stay in your 20%, the things that are gonna bring you 80% of your paycheck. The ROI on myself spending time doing transaction coordination is not good, to be honest. Once I leverage that stuff out, I probably will do more business, or at least have more free time. So, yeah, that answers that.
I got a question.
Yes,
Go
Gary.
back to your original scenario. You were in Montana as a brand new agent. You didn't have your 5,000 contacts from all the places
Yeah.
you've been. What would you tell that person, or what would you do to go lead generate to find that?
So here's the answer to that. Who owns houses? Everybody say people.
People.
Go where the people are. The fastest way to get to the people is through the phone. That's the fastest way to get to them. Because you can rip through a whole neighborhood block without having to go door to door. That will be the fastest way. So there's getting on the phones, there's door knocking, there's talking to everybody. You would not let anybody pass you. You would talk to everybody. Hi, I'm Gary. You have great shoes. What do you do for a living? Fantastic. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm a real estate agent. So that's what I would do, is get to the people the fastest, and the fastest way to get to them is via the phone. But when you do have sphere of influence, definitely tap into people that know you, like you, and trust you, and compliment your friends. Be kind. All that comes back, and then also do your best to try to give out business to other people. So, anybody else? So I'm wrapping up on y'all's time. I don't want to go over.
Do you
Yes.
like to do buyers versus listings, or?
I do anything. I don't care. I didn't subscribe to the just focus on listings because I'm hungry, right? If it can get me a paycheck, I'm going to do it. I've had closings all over the place. I've gone places most of you guys probably would never do. I sold a house in Lumberton. God, I hate to get Lumberton, right? So, I didn't just focus on one or the other. I have been buyer heavy, and part of that is I haven't switched to focus on grows. So, and this is one piece I do want to let you guys know that was a big part of my business, was I learned to put buyers into the marketplace, meaning I got quite a few people who didn't think buying was even an option to close on a home. My very first sale that I had was an Uber passenger, and he had well water, and he wanted to get a water system on his well. So the water guy came out to check the well, and I happened to be there when he showed up. I got his business card. His name's Dan Martin. I got Dan's card, and I would call him about every month. Hey, just touch the base with you, Dan. Just want to stay top of mind. And I asked him. I said, Dan, when are you planning on buying a home? Because I know you said you rent right now. He said, I'm definitely going to buy a home, but we're about 2 years out. I'm engaged, and we're going to get married, and once we get through the wedding, we do all that because that's really expensive, then we're going to look at buying a house, but we're about 2 years out. I said, fantastic. Most people meet with their real estate agent 1 to 2 years in advance, put together a game plan. So in 2 years when you're ready, we'll have everything mapped out. Let's meet Monday at 4 o'clock. I did that same type of thing about 3 times, and finally Dan meets me, and while we're sitting down in the office over here, I said, well, part of this is seeing, how your credit looks and what your profile looks like, and he was okay with going ahead and running it. So, Omar was right here, moving mortgage. Omar ran him and his fiance stuff and says, guess what, guys, you're actually approved for X amount. Guess what, we went shopping. They put off their wedding, they bought a house, and now, so I closed Dan's house, I sold his friend's house that moved down from New York to down here, and now I'm getting ready to sell their parents a house. So that's 3 transactions from someone who said, I'm going to buy a house, I'm about 2 years out. Whatever someone says, fantastic. Most people meet with an agent 1 to 2 years in advance to put together a game plan. Let's meet Monday at 4 o'clock. And meet with them. And part of that process, I have a credit app ran to see what their profile looks like. I helped create a lot of buyers. Friday, I have someone closing on a $400,000 house. And that conversation was quite similar. Hey, Jeremiah, we're gonna buy, I talked to her a little bit. I asked her, I said, hey, when are you gonna buy a house? When are you gonna quit renting? Well, we're gonna buy a house, but we're probably a year or 2 years from being able to do so. I said, fantastic. Most people meet with a real estate agent 1 to 2 years in advance to put together a game plan so when the time is right, we're ready to roll. Richard Light with OMQ Financial ran the credit application. Jeremiah, they're great. Guess what? 3 days later, I had them under contract on the house, and we're closing on it Friday. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So, just meet with people, get in front of them. That's something that I learned to do, is to put buyers in the marketplace that didn't even really think that they may have been buyers. I've done that a lot of times over the past year and a half. So, cool. Well, thank you for your time today, guys. I appreciate it.